My name is Alejandro Esparza. This is my next edition. I need to start numbering these. I tried to number them, but my very first one ended up getting scrapped. So this is the fourth one I recorded. This is probably going to be the third one that gets pushed out. The first one is just garbage. The audio is awful.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So we are here with Gia from Lone Star National Bank. She is a mortgage lender. I'm going to let her get into more of the details, but she is a sweet woman. I've known her for 6-7 months.
Yeah, something like it. Almost a year.
Almost a year. It's getting quickly. She has been amazing to work with. I've seen her do amazing feats.
Thank you.
And then question. This would be more for us, but did that big one ever close?
It did. It did. Finally, it did. It took a team effort. I'm one of those originators who just really, I'm going to try everything. And so, with the grace of God and everything else, we were finally able to do it. And
Amen.
We had a happy client, and we'll be doing celebrating later. But yes,
amen.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
If I sound weird, I'm trying to talk slowly. Mm-hmm. I talk really fast. Mm-hmm. The camera doesn't pick up all my words, so it doesn't translate over the best. So I'm working on slowing my speech down.
Completely understand. I'm one of those that speak quite rapidly myself, so definitely understand. But yes, it's been such an adventure, Alejandro, meeting you. I mean, from the moment that I met you and was really inspired by your journey, honestly. I come from a family of military personnel. I can probably trace it back to the early 1800s.
Nice.
Yes. I'm considered a sixth generation American.
Okay.
And I always tell people, well, we were here before it became the United States, but we've been here a long time and we've served our country.
Is it one of those situations where you didn't cross the border crossed?
Absolutely. Yes. And I have family all across this beautiful country of ours, which I so adore. And, they had the same aspirations of serving our country. I had one point in time wanted to serve. I actually did the exam. I was about to, and this is going to be dating me, so don't judge me, guys, okay? Please. But I had wanted to join the Navy.
Okay.
And so I thought, why not? This was during the time of Private Benjamin. For those that are younger, may not know about this, but go see the movie. You might have to go back a couple of decades, but Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn. She enlisted. She was this wealthy young lady, went in, and it wasn't exactly what she thought it was going to be. Well, I was disillusioned. I have sisters, and I always had to share, even though I was the oldest. So when I heard that I was going to have to share my accommodations with other females, that literally put the brakes on me wanting to serve. I said, I love my country and everything, but that's where it stops. I wasn't about to take that threshold because I didn't know who my roommates were going to be. And I said, if they're anything like my family, I don't know if I could make it through the 4 or 6 years that I was going to be in the military. So, but that is probably one of the biggest regrets I ever had, was not serving in that format. But I like to believe that what I do and help those that have served in some way, I feel like maybe indirectly I'm serving as well in helping the community.
Absolutely.
So yeah, my sister served in the Iraq time frame, Gulf War. My brother, my dad, Vietnam, World War I, World War II, grandfather, whatnot. So we have a big history, and so I'm very passionate.
Nice
about that.
So I do want to backpedal a little bit. I kind of did a little introduction for you, but let's who are you?
Oh, well, who am I? Who am I not, really? My first name is Luleen, like Luleen, Texas. My middle name is Lygia, but everybody calls me Gia, and my last name is Beretta, and it's pronounced like the gun. So
nice.
I'm a native San Antonian. I love this country, so I have lived in different parts of the United States. Mm-hmm. Traveled quite a bit, And I have been in the mortgage industry, gosh, at least almost 4 decades. So almost. Okay. I started literally during high school. Okay.
Really?
Well, indirectly.
And
Yeah.
I got
Yeah, indirectly. But my history is a little bit different than most. I started in quality control.
Okay.
So that was a little different because most people will start as an originator,
Okay.
which is individuals who take loan applications and pricing rates and things like that, which is what I do now, or become a processor, which is gathering the documents on behalf of a loan officer.
Okay.
Okay.
So question. I'm not trying to get too much in the detail here, but
Sure.
I hear, my broker,
Mhm.
he was a mortgage broker. So I know mortgage lender or like a loan officer, an originator, a broker.
Right.
What do all these things mean?
Well, it really on the individual as to where they hold their license.
Okay.
So typically, if you're a loan officer, depending on the institution that holds your license, you could be classified as an originator. As a loan officer, again, in typical fashion, it may be because you work for a non-bank. Okay. And mortgage broker is someone who is taking on the responsibility of overseeing a branch or has independently have their own mortgage facility and transactions, which they broker out to other institutions. So, they're like the middle guy to the big guys.
Okay.
Okay. I work for a bank. Okay. And I have actually been a mortgage broker in the past. Loved it. It's a lot of responsibility, very intense. But I opted to work with a bank only because I felt that if I had that particular support, I could actually reach more clients. So that was really one of the main reasons. But in all, we're all the same. We all have to be licensed. We have to take continuing education courses. So it's ongoing, and we are highly scrutinized by several federal agencies. So just keep in mind, we have to, just like the military, we have to adhere to all the rules and regulations that are set forth to us. So it's never an easy process because we have everyone looking at us on the consumer side as well as on the high regulatory side.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you gave up some autonomy for some support.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. Now, could there ever be an opportunity to, go independent? Absolutely. Depending on the need. In San Antonio, we have such a great need for people wanting information.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing here today is I'm hoping that what we share with you today, you can feel that it's valuable information and, you have support here in San Antonio, whether it's with a mortgage broker or whether it's with a banking institution. Information is out there. You just need to ask. That's the key thing.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Nice.
So, I don't see myself doing anything else. I tried in the past. I was.
That's gonna be my next question. Is you've been doing loans since high school? Have you done anything else?
I've done quite a bit. In between that time frame, I've been in business development, which has helped me to create certain skill sets. And also, I was an event planner.
Okay.
I also did government contracting.
Okay.
So I've really geared my career towards people.
Okay.
And the needs. I worked for a federal contractor who we did food service.
Okay.
For middle school, elementary, and high school. So I was traveling all across the state of Texas.
Wow.
Yes. I was a road warrior.
How long did you do that?
Oh, I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Monday through Friday, I was on the road. Weekends, I was home.
Nice.
So, yes. And that was pretty exciting because I never knew where I was going to be at pretty much any day. It was like I was always on call.
Moving,
fast paced.
So were you planned like you said you would get a call. So would you plan out a schedule, or is it that people would call you and say, hey, we need you over here, and then you would
No, I would plan a schedule and I was always having to revert.
Okay.
It's like you always have to be prepared.
Yeah.
So that was me. That's why I'm always adaptable to change.
You know, you need a plan. You make a plan, execute the plan, throw out the plan.
Exactly. It's like A, B, C, D, E. I tell everyone, especially like in lending, I tell them, you know what? When you come to meet me, I'm always going to give you an A, B, and in the back of my head, in my mind, I'm thinking, I better have a C and D just in case,
Okay.
because you never know. It's the
No.
little things that could change a situation, and so that was life. I never really thought of going into event planning, which I used to think doing mortgage loans were difficult. I will tell you,
Planning events is hard.
it is very hard work. It is very hard. So next time anybody has an event, please be nice to your event planner, because it's, I consider it project management on steroids.
It is hard. It is so hard. So we had, and you know, we had a event 2 weeks ago. We actually had two events, one after the other, and both uh, catastrophic collapsed. We were supposed to have one 2 days ago. I don't know if you remember. We were supposed to do one on the first, but
Yes.
our partner took the building, and it was just a big mess. And
Oh.
the person that we were working with, and it was weird whenever we were talking to them. They it was a really weird situation, but they made it seem like I was annoying and bothering them, and it's like, I don't need you. I was giving you a chance,
Right. Exactly.
and they cut that chance. So we already have more places lined out. So we're going to be moving some things forward. But yeah, it is getting a location, getting the people that are going to be there, getting people that you know are going to enjoy the event. Not the people hosting it, but the people that you know are going to the general public. Yeah, the guests, and then making sure that all the hosts show up. Make sure that they know what the idea is. Make sure we have a schedule.
Proper
food,
execution.
no food, proper execution as the event goes on.
Absolutely.
They're changing things around, people not showing up, people running too long.
Absolutely.
It is a job in itself.
Well, and I figured, I said, I thought I was really geared to it. A funny story was that, like I said, I had been doing this a long time as far as originating for a long time, and I just said, sometimes you just have to take a back seat and just breathe. And I said, you know what? I want to do something different. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I knew I was good at math. I knew I was good at project management, and I knew that I could have an insightful, creative side about me. It just needed to come out, right?
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to call one of the top 3 caterers in San Antonio. Didn't see that they were offering the position open or anything, but I said, I don't have anything to lose, right?
Swing away.
So I called the catering company, and the owner was not available. So I left a message. And in my message, whatever reason, I apparently must have had a strong pill of arrogance with me, because I left a message stating, you may not know who I am yet, but, my name is Luline Gia Beretta Valdez, and I am what you're needing for your company. I will turn things around. I will execute, and I will show profitability. And I said, so again, you don't know who I am, but you will want to at least have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And I know I can do a lot of things positive for your company. And so I would advise that you reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Well, 2 hours later, I get a phone call. I'm like, okay. And the owner said, you're pretty cocky, aren't you? And I'm like, I told her, I said, with all respect, I said, it's not cocky. It's just, I know what I can do for your company. And I think that you have a beautiful product that I'd like to be part of and let the community know about it. And so she says, well, let me meet with you. By the time that we had our interview, as I was getting up, she says, if you're interested, I have a position for you. She goes, I didn't have one when you walked in, but I have one now if you're willing to go ahead and take it. And, my mantra is, the regrets I have are the risks that I do not take.
Nice.
So I've lived by that rule. Sometimes it's got me in trouble. Okay, I'm not going to lie. Okay, sometimes. But for the most part, it has been, every time I've taken a leap of faith in myself, I've been able to succeed in life. And it's always been for the betterment. And so for that, like I said, I should have taken a bigger leap in the military because I know I would have been a heck of a drill sergeant. Just kidding. If I had chose to do that. But, honestly, other than that, I can say that my life has been just remarkable. I've met some amazing people in my many years of being on this beautiful planet of ours. And there's a reason for everything. I truly believe that. So, if you're out there, I mean, all I can tell you is take a leap of, if you believe in something big enough, take it upon yourself to have that belief and do it. Do it, because you don't want to have that regret, And like I said, I'm lucky at my age that that's really the only regret that I have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf, right?
Yes.
That was what he got famous for. Just do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just do it. Well, just do it.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I was just inspired because I figured if I want other people to believe in me, then I need to first believe in myself. Yeah. And how can I expect others to do that? Yeah. I said, no, it stops. It starts and it stops with me. And have I made mistakes? Absolutely. More than what we have time for. Okay. But I know it's a journey that has to be taken.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer in
Can I have my drink, please?
In a higher dimension.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely. So, those are some quirky stuff.
I'm not gonna put the logo up. They're not paying me.
Yeah.
There's no way people will know what this is.
No. Right. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Well, make sure. Yeah. Okay. Don't make sure this one's either. Okay. There you go. Maybe. Okay. There you go.
These are totally not recognizable.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. It was on the corner somewhere. Okay. But yeah, I would say the same way that you're taking this initiative. That's why I got inspired talking to you, with you and your lovely wife. I mean,
thank you.
You have a vision, and it's so inspiring because there are so many people. I've said from the very get-go, there are so many people that need our help. And there have been times where I've shed tears with, military personnel, with their spouses. And it's a tough road. You're basically giving up your life while you're there, and then thereafter. And the thereafter is the hardest part, I think. I could be wrong, but having immediate family and loved ones close to me, that to me is why we do what we do. So yeah, so that's my crazy journey, event planning. I will tell you this, that if you are planning an event and it's for your daughter, fathers, okay, just whoever's paying, an event planner will tell you this, whoever's paying gets to make the decisions.
Makes sense.
So, and
usually it's not the daughter.
Usually it's not.
She has no money.
She has no money. Okay, so I'm just letting you know now that
they're adorable.
He who
they
pays
have no money.
gets to make the decision.
They have no money.
Yeah. So
tell my daughters that. They'd be shocked.
Yeah. No. I'm going to tell you, I've done some beautiful and gorgeous events, and and it's just to be able to be part of that journey. It's like in mortgage.
Yes.
To be able to be part of that journey, to me, it makes everything else, all the ups and downs, worthwhile. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's a remarkable journey. Nice. It really is. So, like I said, I also do arts and crafts for almost 25 years. Traveled around Texas with my arts and crafts and got to meet some really strange people, wonderful people. Just really kind of doing my thing in my art world, and love doing that. Stopped for a while because I figured that my talents right now are geared more right now to helping my veterans, and that's really my calling right now. Okay. I'm a true believer in that. I see it with my sister who has 100% disability. My brother, he's getting there. He's one of those stubborn vets.
Your sister's sweet, yeah.
That
I think I have my memory shot.
Sure.
I think I was supposed to reach out to your sister.
Yes, you did. We had an event.
Yes, but I think I was supposed to reach out to her after the event.
Well,
I think I was supposed to, and I failed.
Well, no, you didn't, because her daughter's graduating.
Her name's
Tasha.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but her daughter's graduating, and
nice.
She just she had scholarships. She'll be going to the university of her choice. She just signed yesterday. I guess yesterday was signing day for
Where's she
athletes. It was between Abilene Christian,
Okay, ACU.
and ACU, Houston, University of
The
Houston.
Cougars.
Yeah, or to Texas Tech.
Recum Tech.
So
she's going to Lubbock.
She's going to Texas Tech.
She is?
Yes.
Recum Tech. Thumbs up, guns up. I went to Tech.
You did?
I did.
Fantastic.
I did go to Tech.
She opted to go to Texas Tech. She said that she just loved the environment and she loved the people.
Nice.
You know, and this is where I get a lot of calls. She loved Abilene, but it's a private school, extremely expensive. And even though military, and we'll probably get a little bit into that, you know, does help some parents with, sorry. Let me see.
That's right.
Even though they help them with their children's education, she was concerned. There you go.
Is it gonna? Yeah, we're still trucking.
Yeah, she was concerned that she didn't want to be a burden to her mother.
Okay.
So she said, "Mom, you know what? I'm okay. I really like the other school as well." And so,
but in athletes' respect, Texas Tech's a bigger school.
That's true. That's true.
That is
right.
There's no bigger platform.
And that's what. Well, she actually is wanting to do sports medicine.
Wow.
Yes. So she has the grades for it. So I don't think she got the brains from my side.
What sport does she play?
She plays soccer.
Oh, nice.
Yes. She's played basketball. She's an athlete, super athlete. I mean, she's always playing, always. And she plays not only in her high school, she goes to sim school, but she plays, I guess, off league or whatever they call that. You know, additional leagues that she plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've won their district championship and things like that. So she's been playing since she's about 6 years old.
Like a travel league or something?
A travel league. So she does
That's awesome.
Yeah. But
Texas Tech is huge.
Yeah.
That's in football, that's FBS. That's as big as you can get.
Yes. So
and they're not even just FBS. They're in one of the premier conferences.
Yeah. So I told her, I said, well,
she's gonna play against the best.
Yes. So I told her, I said, you know, just I'm glad that you're continuing with your sports, desire, but education is really key. And so her goal is, again, to go into sports medicine, physician of sports medicine. She wants to do that. And I said, then go at it. I said, maybe you'll be working for the Spurs one day.
Maybe.
Or
Dallas or something.
Travel the world, with the sports team.
Something.
That's really her desire, is to travel with the sports team.
Nice.
And I said, okay, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, whatever. That's her goal.
Nice.
So I said, well, aim high.
Aim high.
Yeah. So that's really, like I said, Tasha's been a little preoccupied with trying to get that and graduation and stuff, but I know you'll connect with her.
Tell her I haven't forgotten about her.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been a busy few weeks.
Yeah, it has. You've been pretty busy.
Busy week.
It's been
last Thursday.
Week. Yeah. Yeah, we had our fiesta event. So that
awesome.
was nice, wasn't it?
That was awesome.
There was over 300 people.
Wow. I should have recorded. I should have made content for it, but that was a little bit before I started doing this.
But you were there.
I was
there.
And
that's all that matters.
That was a blast.
Yes.
I got pictures.
Yes, I have pictures.
When I spoke with Matt, I posted a picture of me and Cowboy Cash. It was at the Fiesta event.
Oh my God! Yeah, well, I've seen your post with Cowboy Cash.
My boy Cowboy Cash.
He's your boy, and it was a really great connection for our favorite customers and clients and friends.
I'm your favorite customer.
You are my favorite customer. Seriously. Hey, it's a Saturday.
It is a Saturday.
And I could be anywhere.
That is
but
true.
You know what?
That is true.
This is how important this gentleman and what he believes in is to me. Because
I receive that.
You know what? Because it means a lot. Like I said, when it comes to my vets, if I have whatever I need to do to help them, I'm telling you with all sincerity, I will do whatever I can to at least guide them, give them information, help them. And so I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. And I had only hoped that others would follow your lead because you're a leader in that.
Thank you.
But you call, okay, got to do it.
One team, one fight.
That's it. One team, one fight.
And I agree with you 1,000,000%. So I am a real estate agent right now. And one thing I'm finding is, content creation. Everything you're saying is true when it comes to event planning, doing all these things, there's a lot of moving pieces. And I was talking to my brokers, talking to you, talking to a lot of people, and there's a consensus that I don't need to be actively doing real estate. I need to be doing this. So I am starting to build a team that are going to, great agents that are going to be able to facilitate the transactions. Because I do love being a part of the attractions, and I'm taking care of my clients right now. But I can see how if I turn this notch up a little bit, I'm really not going to have any time.
You're not.
And so yeah, no, I get the idea that you give up autonomy for, I can go in and do an agent, and I can go and join a brokerage that'll pay me 100% of everything, and I can do all that,
right?
But I'm not going to get any support.
Yeah.
So if I go out and I give up an autonomy and I let agents to take, their fair share, because they're going to do a lot of work to get these clients taken care of. So I get what you mean by I'm going to accept a little bit less, but when the volume hits,
absolutely,
it's going to go through the roof.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And that's why, you have such a wonderful disposition with regard to your passion of wanting to help others, that truly you're calling, because there is such lack of having what you do out there, especially in Military City, USA, San Antonio. You would think we wouldn't have as many issues as we have with our military personnel and their families and the surviving spouses. So completely get that. And if that is the journey that the big guy upstairs guides you to, then I'm full in support of it. I know that he'll have an awesome team that'll have the same dedication that you have with all your clients. So I do not doubt for the second that you're not going to be successful. I think you can still be successful in both. But yes, I really think your talent is better served in what you're doing right now, which is getting the information out there, and helping the community. So,
and I know on my side, that's what we're seeing. And it's really weird because I've talked to quite a bit of people, and not a single person is holistic in VA benefits. So you have some people that specify specifically in, healthcare, specifically in disability, specifically in housing. And you go and you talk to them, and they're like, well, I really don't know that. And I'll tell you, there's a lot there, but it's not so much where you can't know the rest.
Right.
You've seen some of my and so this is the actual space that you and Lone Star National Bank have allowed me to use to meet veterans. So I'm very grateful, and you've seen some of the meetings that we've had, and I give them information about everything.
You sure do.
I don't.
You sure do.
I don't just hit one facet. And one thing I've found is accredited VSOs are few and far between. They're almost impossible to get a hold of. They're very difficult to schedule with. And I was even talking to another company here in San Antonio that focuses on VA healthcare. They're physicians. I was trying to reach out and trying to create a system where I can send them my patients to get taken care of, to get their disability rated higher. And they only focus on seniors. They only focus on senior veterans. And it's really difficult to find. This is a fight. It is a fight to actually make an ecosystem where a veteran can come in and be able to get all their needs taken care of. And what helps being over here is, your desk is right here.
Yeah.
Whenever they're ready to buy a house, I can send them over to you.
Absolutely.
That's why I need the physician. So whenever they need a physician, I can send the physician. Right. I'll help with the disability benefits. If it does get too crazy, I do have about 4 VSOs on my phone that I can push them over to and get them. But really, one thing that I came across, and whenever I talk to, this is your interview, I'm so sorry.
No.
Whenever I come across it and I speak to him, I spoke with the lady yesterday, and she told me the same thing that I experienced. She went to the VSO, and the VSO just said, okay, give me all your paperwork. Oh, okay, we're going to file for this, and then submit it. And then there was no questions about anything else. She's like, okay, well, what else do I need? What else do you just, that's it. You just give me paperwork and I submit it. So I go through line by line. I see exactly what you're missing. And then I'll guide you through buddy statements. I'll guide you through whatever you need. I cannot submit your application on your behalf. You have to do it yourself.
Right.
But I'll have everything ready. So when you do submit it, it's a cakewalk. And mine is totally free. So I've even met, I've met people that charge thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I met people that charge percentages after, the
After the distribution or the
after, yeah, correct.
uh-huh.
After the funds are distributed,
Uh-huh.
they want disbursements. They
Yeah.
want a percent of their disbursements. I even met a guy that was charging $500.
Oh my God.
And I'm not saying that this information isn't worth it, because it is.
No, absolutely.
But the veteran I met yesterday, she had no money in her pocket.
Yeah.
And that's a common occurrence. So, I mean, are these people just SOL? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. But that's why people like you are here to do the right thing. And again, I know we all have to make a living, but I completely understand that, especially those that don't have the resources and the funds to be able to start it, or just clueless, because you do get helpless and you do just say, you know what, forget it. There has to be someone, some organization out there that can guide them and help them, and just continue to get the word out. That's it. Just continue to get the word out. And that's what we're doing here today is, really talking about what we've seen and what's available out there, because I'm telling you, I shake my head every day when I think of all the vets and the families and the surviving spouses, to think that there are benefits out there that they're not even utilizing.
They don't even know about.
And that's it,
Special monthly compensation, that goes in
and it's like you earned it,
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been one of those that said and questioned, why is it that our government hasn't put something in place prior to leaving the service? In other words, providing this information ahead of time so that the veteran is already fully aware and can take advantage of that. To me, that's just very disheartening.
So they do try.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to knock the DOD or whenever I got out in 2013, I hear it's a lot different now. And then I do have friends that work with transitioning members, and I also sponsor with Onward Ops. I sponsor transitioning veterans. So I do know that they've gotten better. But whenever I was in, your commander had full discretion over you. You were a tool in his toolkit. So whenever I was leaving the military in 2013, I was stationed in Hawaii. I had no choice. I was, balls to the wall until I literally left. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I PCS from Alaska to Hawaii, same thing. I got stuck. I got sent to the field, a day before I left. And Hawaii wasn't a whole lot better. If you're a body, they need you for numbers. So there was not a lot of time for me to transition. And we're seeing that. So the DOD's gotten, from what I've heard, way better. Where they have about 2 or 3 months out, maybe a month out. You start working on it. I know I got my service member about 3 months before they separated.
Nice.
So I started helping her transition out, and she had a great plan. And I think it's a woman thing, but whenever I talked to her, she had everything lined out.
Really?
And she had her disability figured out. She had this figured out. She had that figured out. She was killing it. And then I talked to male service members, and they're like, "I'm gonna go on unemployment." I'm like, "What?" So, and that's kind of what I see to it. A lot of it is the service member. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are still really, really young. Mm-hmm. And I like to complain about the school system, but I'll be the first one to tell you I was asleep in school. I didn't care, and my wife, she was an A+ student, and the funny thing is now I know 10 times more than her when it comes to school stuff. Yeah. We go to history, she can't touch me. And math, there's quite a bit, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but it's just weird how whenever you're a child, the issue with the school system is they train you to test, and as soon as you test, you forget it.
Exactly.
And then the ones that didn't care, they didn't get anything. So,
I see that. Yeah.
Even if we could yell, "Hey, you need to do this! Hey, you need to do this!" Right. There is a very slim chance, especially a younger person. Even now, there are people come across now that are still have their head in the sand and they don't care and they're doing the bare minimum. Yeah. You could tell them blue in the face and they're not going to adjust.
No, they've got to want it. But I'm hoping that for those that do want it, that they realize that yes, it is a process, but there are resources to help that process just be a bit easier, just by asking and getting that knowledge. I know my brother, when he tried, he was flustered. He for years we tried to get him to apply, and it finally came down to tough love. You know,
Did he apply?
he applied. My sister was his biggest advocate.
Advocate, absolutely.
And she told him, she goes, you know, you need to stop being, basically, and forgive me, I hope not to offend anybody, but she basically told him, you need to stop being selfish. This isn't about you anymore.
You need to stop being a child. You're an adult.
Yeah, and she told him, she goes, you know, you're 50 years
Not
old.
trying to tell right,
Yeah,
brother.
but you're 50 years old, and this isn't about you anymore. It's about your children. It's about your grandchildren. It's about your wife. Okay, you've earned it. I'm sure, and that you've had, you know, issues because of where he served and what he had to do and the things he had to see, and even though he didn't talk a lot about it, you know, serving had some effect.
Yes.
And my sister told him to stop being selfish.
Yes.
This is not about you anymore.
What years did he serve?
He served during the Gulf War.
Okay.
I
know this would be more for like your dad's time frame, but there is materials the military used, you know, in the 70s, you know, 60s, 70s. I think they started changing in the 80s. But actually, honestly, there's still places where you can still get you know, infected with asbestos. Yeah. But there are literally time frames where if you're in the service, it's almost a guarantee because asbestos was everywhere.
Yeah.
And not only that, but lead.
Lead. Oh yeah. Well, he was at Camp Lejeune.
Okay, that's a.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the water scandal in Camp Lejeune?
Yeah, absolutely. He was there for a couple of years and overseas.
God bless America.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my God, you know, if the enemy isn't going to kill you, something will over here.
We will. Yeah, we got you. We got you.
I mean, I hate to say that, but it finally took my sister to tell him, and when he realized that, and even though he was making a really great living, she said, you know what, you can't do this alone. You need the support. Oh. And he was always proud of his service, but hid it, you know. And she just told him, says, no, you need to do this for your children and for your wife. So after she helped him, she sat with him, literally holding his hand. You would have thought that he was an 18-year-old. Okay, here's a 50-year-old man, and all that time he was complaining and grunty, and she just looked him in the eye because it was his baby sister and said, stop it. Stop it. Enough is enough. You can't be doing this anymore, you know. And
we're always growing, aren't we?
Oh my God. And you know what, I as young as she was, she somehow was able to penetrate through his thick skull, and we're proud to say, yes, he has his disability, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 100%.
Amen.
Amen. And you know, he was. I had never seen him in a while ever do this, but he literally broke down and told her that she thanked him for taking time out away from her kids and whatnot, and that he was forever grateful for her, to believe in her, to believe in him, and to push him, and to realize that it wasn't about him anymore, and that he could do good with this. And so he has, you know, he participates in trying to also educate other veterans in some similar way, you know, attending events and things like that. And I just think that, you know, it's sometimes you just got to bring that mule and just push them hard, you know, but eventually they'll open their eyes. And so, you know, I'm just, like I said, I'm tickled pink because for me, civilian per se, not having been through that, I feel a level of comfort knowing that they can get the care they need, because trust me, I can't help them, you know. There's no way, but I know that they've got resources, and to me, that makes me feel good that at least I know that they can get some care, whatever that may be. So yeah, I'm pleased, and like I said, I love my country. You know, if I could go back and if they would take me today, I would do it in a heartbeat. I really would. You know, I don't run as fast as I used to. Okay. I'm a little grouchier than I used to be. I'm definitely outspoken, but yeah, you know, I would say that, you know,
I've noticed that about you.
What?
So on LinkedIn, most of the people I follow, they say apolitical, but you're not afraid.
I'm not afraid. No, because I believe in what I believe in, and I believe in this country. You know, the
I
good
am
path.
right leaning. I am right leaning.
Yeah.
So seeing you post, I'm like, I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
you know what? This is what makes this country so special. Um, you know, do I agree with everything? Absolutely not. But I know that I would rather live in this country than anywhere else in the world. I know that we are so lucky. I was, you know, I tell myself, gosh, if I could win the lotto. Well, one day I was sitting there, and as I was looking at my scratch offs, and I said, you know what? Wait a minute. You have won the lotto. You live in the greatest country in the world,
US
in the
today.
best times that could ever be.
Huh.
What are you complaining about? We have so many people that want to come here, and I have opportunities that people literally have died for. I said, no, I have won the lotto.
Mm.
And so for me, I speak the truth. I don't hold back. That's what happens when you get older. You just speak the truth. You know, you just call it like it is.
Absolutely.
I've earned it, so you know. But I do it politely. You know.
Yeah, no,
I
you
try
haven't,
to
you
do.
haven't, you haven't
You
done
know,
anything
I don't.
rash,
You
but
know, but yeah, I believe in what I believe in, and I believe that this country can be even stronger and better. I believe this country is a bit broken. We have a lot of things we need to work on financially, mindset of our children. I think that we should never forget our history or that of past histories of other countries. You know, that worries me, that, you know, we don't have God in certain places. Even in school, I think, you know, I know we need to do the separation, but I think we need to have belief into something. And I see that some children lack that. So, you know, like I said, yeah, my LinkedIn is pretty much right leaning. I'm not a fanatic in any means. I think logically, but I also have the perspective of thinking outside the box. And you know, I figure that if my family members, and my partner was willing to give literally their life for this country, they've given me the opportunity to have a say as well. And that's why, you know, I'm a strong believer in our laws. I support the Second Amendment highly because I love going to the firing range all the time.
nice.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
was there 2 days ago.
I know. I saw your video. It was pretty cool. I'm a big fan of self protection.
Huh?
You know, I don't want to be reliant on others. I want to be able to support myself. I want to be able to protect myself. I want to be able to protect my family, friends, and those in need, those that can't protect themselves. So, you know, if that makes it wrong, then so be it. I'm okay with that. You know, if people have whatever reason for whatever that that you know see me as a target, then so be it. I'm okay with that because I know that at the end of the day, you know, God, country, I mean God, family, and country is what I
Mm-hmm.
believe in. So, like I said, I think I would have been a good military person, you know,
Nice.
had I joined. But
Nice.
you know, I like to say I've served in my own special way.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, like I said, I post what I believe in, and like I said, it's not everything's hunky dory. You know, some things you know, I'm like, okay, can we not? But you know what? I am who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and I just want us to have a fair, lawful country. You know,
Yeah.
and I'd really like to see more God, uh, you know, be placed in people's hearts, kindness. I see that this country has kind of gotten away from that a bit. And just saying thank you, you know, thank you for your service. You know, really, what you did is allowing me to talk to you today, to have the freedom, you know. I thank you because you gave up a good portion of, you know, a small portion of your life or a good portion of your life so that I could have the freedoms that I have today. So I'm never lost for thought and thinking that that's not important. So, you know, it is what it is, right?
Nice.
You know, so
I like it.
yeah,
I
you
like
know,
it. I like it.
and like I said, I'm not a radical. Okay, I'm nothing but that. Okay, far from that. But I do have my beliefs, and it's taken me a while, you know. But I just know that as I get closer, you know, one of the things I keep in my mindset is like every day, and I know this might sound morbid, but every day that I wake up, I'm one closer
You're
to
one
meeting
day
my
closer
maker.
to death. Yeah.
Yep, and meeting my
Coming
maker.
for us all.
It is. Eventually, we're all going to be at the same place. I like to be where it's a nicer and a little cooler than other places. But I'm always mindful of that.
Have you
So
seen where the cartel's been burying their dead?
no,
They got like a it looks like a neighborhood in the Dominion. They got like
yeah.
$1 million what are those called?
The
Mausoleums?
mausoleums.
Yeah, they got like, and they look like homes. They don't look like mausoleums.
Oh my God. Well, hey.
So some of us are gonna be.
You know what? At the end of the day,
Cartel.
you're dead. You're dead. Okay, I don't care if you're cartel, but that's well,
that's
you know,
wild.
that is wild. I wonder if it had to do anything because I know in Europe, certain countries are believers of not burying their loved ones in the ground.
Really?
Hmm.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and so I'm just kind of pondering that maybe the cartel has all of a sudden become European and expanding
So
their views.
I even had a conversation with yesterday. I
Uh-huh.
think. I just love how the world is so interconnected, and we're talking about pastor.
Yes,
Pastor is Mexican shawarma. That's exactly what it was.
it is.
Muslims
I never
moved to
really tried it.
Mexico, yeah, and instead of hanging the goat, they hang pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Muslims. They went to Mexico. They integrated, and the Mexicans they grabbed shawarma and turned it into pastor. So
Yeah.
if you watch the people that actually make it, they cut it off and they put it in tortilla. Yeah,
It's the same thing.
It's Mexican
Yeah,
shawarma
the tortilla and then
instead of the pita bread.
yeah. It's like, so really, we all have a little bit of something. It was funny because earlier today I was talking to one of my colleagues, and I don't know how we got into the conversation, and I said, "Do you know?" I said, "I recently had sort of like a DNA testing of my background," and I said, "I am the American mutt." And she looked at me. She goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, looking at me, one would say, "Oh, okay, she's Hispanic," and I am, to a degree, which was really shocking because I found out that I've got Inuit in me.
Really, your
Yes.
family came from Alaska?
Apparently,
I love it.
yes. With that, also Scottish,
Okay.
Wales. Let's see, a little bit of South African, and Italian, of course, and Spanish.
Italian.
Yes, yes,
Nice.
and a little bit of German
Okay.
and Jewish.
You're just everything.
So that's why I said, well, it doesn't surprise me because
God bless
hey,
America.
God bless America. So I said, you know what? Then I am the melting pot.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was kind of unusual because we shouldn't judge people by their color. You judge people by their character. And I said, so I said, was there any way that I could have gotten this in college, some scholarships for having all this?
Absolutely.
Darn it, I kind of missed the boat on that one, but hey, maybe my son can take advantage of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I'm literally Heinz 57, and I said, I feel so special, I really do. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling special, but I'm American. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
I love it.
I don't consider myself any really ethnicity other than I'm an American.
American.
That's it, red, white, and blue. That's how we bleed.
What we do.
That's what we do. So yeah, but when we have like our vets come in, a lot of them they have their culture that says, oh well, I don't need any help.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm like,
yep.
You know what? It's not that you're asking for help; it's something that you've earned. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's like you need to get that mindset away. And culture, they're like, well, my dad worked hard and he never asked like that. I said, but you earned it. It's not like you're asking for something or a handout.
You're begging.
It's not a handout.
Yeah.
It's a benefit that you have earned. Mm-hmm. And trying to get that mindset changed has probably been one of the hardest things that I've had to experience in my PA profession per se. Hard. In trying to get veterans to apply and telling them all the benefits. I mean, in Texas, we love our vets. I mean, we're one of the few, San Antonio, one of the few states that provides, reduction in property taxes.
Yep.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, if you are a 100% veteran in Texas, no property taxes, there's already no income tax. Mm-mm. I mean, you are.
Yeah, it's golden.
Yeah, you have so much
opportunity. We love
opportunity.
our vets. And there are a lot of amazing programs out there for veterans. So, ask.
Has your niece, has she been to Lubbock yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Was it nighttime?
No, she went during the day.
Oh, because
Yes.
it is
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So true story. So
Yeah, story.
I love Lubbock. From born
Uh-huh.
and raised in Lubbock.
Mhm.
I spent a year in Iraq,
Uh-huh.
and I came back. I've been watching Tech football since the year 2000, and we had a coach. His name was Tommy Tuberville,
Mhm.
and he was not a good coach. He actually had the best recruiting class Tech has ever had, but him and Lubbock hated each other, and he left. And when he left, he went to Cincinnati, and he released a statement calling Lubbock Iraq, and Lubbock was livid. But I would be like, Lubbock, been to Iraq and from Lubbock, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lubbock, I love you, but
Yeah.
it is not.
Yeah. Well,
But talking to Lubbockites, West Texas, they know where they live.
yeah.
They know it's a desert. They know, the haboobs. Have you seen a haboob? When
No.
it's the wall of dust. When the wall of dust
Oh, I
comes.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's funny because Mike Leach made a comment, which was the legendary Lubbock coach.
Uh-huh.
He did a report about raining mud in Lubbock, where the
Uh-huh.
haboob will come in and then it would rain on top, so
Uh-huh.
it rains mud, and he talked about how amazing it was. So it is not the ugliest place out there, and it is home. You drive into West Texas, and you can tell you're there because you can smell oil and you can smell cow. That is Lubbock.
Wow.
But I love it. I love
Yeah.
Lubbock. I love Tech. One thing I found really interesting was being from Lubbock. Tech is right there, and
Yeah.
it's just a part of growing up. And you hear about the Big 12, and you know that it's but you don't really know it. I didn't know it until I moved to San Antonio, and now I rub shoulders with very wealthy individuals, lawyers, physicians. They love sending their kids to Tech because it's Tech.
Exactly.
It is Tech. I'm like, that is too cool. So there is so much Texas Tech love out here.
There really is.
Every other car I see a double T.
Yeah.
At the event, there was an auction. The guy that did the auction went to Tech, and there was an individual in the crowd that had a Tech shirt on. Yeah. There is so much Tech out here.
There is. A lot of employees from Lone Star National Bank are alumni from Texas Tech.
The gentleman, the loan officer from Zazamora, what's his name?
Yes. Roland Looney.
Roland, he's a Red Raider. I love seeing the double T. I'm sorry, Roland, my bad. Yeah. My brain is a little compact today.
Roland is a phenomenal commercial lender, and he loves the vets as well. But he is a huge.
He's a good. I love every time I go to Zazamora, I talk to him.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
He is a phenomenal guy, always helping out in the community. But he loves his school, and he says it's the best thing that he could do. As a matter of fact, he tried to get his son to go. But
where did his son go?
But his son decided to stay in San Antonio because he's such a mama's boy. So,
nice. So being in San Antonio, I did take economics, and I do know that rooting for the local team is the best thing because whenever they make money, everybody makes money.
Absolutely.
So I do show some love to UTSA.
Yeah.
But I refuse to move to Austin. I refuse to look that way. Horns down.
Okay. My son graduated from Texas A&M San Antonio.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yes, it's a gorgeous campus.
I haven't been to it.
You need to go.
I've been to St. Mary's. I've been to UTSA. I've been to SAC.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. No, there's
San Antonio. Even more than that. I've been to UIW.
Have you been to Our Lady of the Lake University? That's where I went.
No, I haven't been to that one.
Oh, yes. That one's just, it's very Gothic, actually.
Really?
Yes, it's very Gothic, but it's an older university. It's one of the oldest, the Providence. I went to Providence High School for girls. And I grew up in the parochial era where you started in kindergarten, St. Philip's of Jesus, went to St. Joseph on New Laredo Highway in the Military Drive area. And then went to Providence High School for girls, and then went to Our Lady of the Lake University.
Wow.
So, that's...
How was it? How was that?
I loved it. I
guess you can't compare it, but I mean, I just want to know.
No, well, when I can say that, it was really good for me because Our Lady of the Lake was co-ed.
Okay.
But, and then of course when St. Joseph was co-ed as well, it's just high school was all girls. And I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't have changed it because I was able to focus on my education. I still had lots of fun. And it was a really great experience. It allowed me to prosper as a woman and really see that, and this was during the 80s, to see that there were many opportunities out there. And so I think that's where I got a lot of my gusto, was
Nice.
because the school always encouraged women to go out there and reach for their dreams.
I love that.
It wasn't always about,
It wasn't a pipeline to the convent.
no, no. As a matter of fact, we did have one young lady, but it was a calling for her very early. We knew
I'm
that.
gonna send my daughter to the convent.
Okay.
They're gonna marry
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's not going to happen. Okay. Oh, don't be delusional now. Come on. It's not going to happen. Okay. But yeah, it's not going to happen. But I can tell you that it was an experience because, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy with, as far as women to women, and the cattiness and whatnot. But you learned that you had the support there, and the school has always been very supportive of women's initiatives. They did encourage, family unity and in creating family, but they also realized that you didn't have to necessarily have a family to be successful as far as raising children and things like that. But that, if that was your calling to be a mom, then it was just as valuable as being a professional businesswoman.
Okay.
So it was really very well rounded.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And so,
minus the convent. That's what I tell my girls. Well, I'm a little rigid. I tell them they can be any kind of doctor they want. Any kind of doctor.
Right.
But they will be doctors.
There you go.
And then they'll go to convent.
Then they'll go to convent.
Okay. Then they'll go marry Jesus.
There you go. Well, I can tell you that you probably, you more than likely will get your doctor wish. I don't know about the convent, so you just might want to already set yourself up for that one.
50-50.
Okay.
Right. Hey, I'll take that.
You got to make sure to pass on your lineage. Okay.
That's true. I am not. There's no boys, so
yeah.
They're my only.
Two girls.
Three girls.
Three girls. Yes. So just saying. Okay. But it's just like anything. A good education. I'm also a firm believer, and this may be again my upbringing, but I'm also a firm believer in hard work. I'm a firm believer that you don't over pamper your children. I know a lot of parents sometimes substitute.
They want to be pampered,
right? That
they want to do nothing,
right? And you have to learn to say no.
Get up.
Yeah, like my sister, when she was gone overseas, she was in Iraq and in different parts of the world. I understand because she was away from her children and they were young, they were babies. But she had to learn that you sometimes have to say no, even when you're deployed, even when because by saying yes, she probably would have created little monsters. These children are very well disciplined.
And we are seeing today what happens when you let a little monster grow up.
Yeah.
There's videos of people running into stores and just grabbing stuff and running out. Just wild stuff.
No. And I'm more of a helicopter mom, actually, to be honest with you. I'm very stringent with regard to, being respectful. And I think that needs to be taught. And it has, like I said, I think I would have done really well in the military just because I am rigid to that extent. I believe in respect and respecting others. Not, oh, well, you have to respect me first. No, you always hold your dignity, and whether they respect you or not, you always just show a respect to them. And this way, no one can come back to you and say that, in any way where you would, enacting any type of derogatory manner or whatnot. So, but yeah, like I said, having seen firsthand my brother, my sister, my dad, uncles and whatnot serve, I can tell you that it has been such a blessing to our family. My great grandfather, was it two great grandfather, he helped train Teddy Roosevelt's horses.
Interesting.
He was the trainer for one of the horses.
You're not lying about going back to 1800s.
Yeah. So he was a horse trainer for Teddy Roosevelt.
Nice.
And so, I've had some family members that have driven some very famous generals during World War I and World War II around, overseas. And I've had a few family members, unfortunately, that were POWs, and some were, MIAs, missing in action. So, like I said, I really believe that my family history in the military has provided me with the sense of respect that I don't take lightly when it comes to military people. You know, I put them at the highest regard. You know, it's always been very important to me. You know, so like I said, I don't know if it's considered a true patriot or not, but you know, I do believe
I'd say
red,
so.
white, and blue. You know,
I'd say so.
yeah. So you know, that's pretty much where I'm at. You know,
Nice.
that's why I take what I do seriously when I'm helping people when they come in here and you well you've seen it. You were talking to some of the vets that come in here and their spouses where it's an emotional situation. Money does that to people,
It does.
you know, and you have to just hear them out. Just hear people out, feel their pain, and then tell them it's going to be okay because it will be.
Yes. So I see you as very successful. Every time I see you, you know, you
I think I need to have little, what is it, phone things where I can just, what do they call it, little sticky things? Just put it right here.
Right there. Yeah, I have seen you. You know, there is not a single second where you breathe. You're on the computer. You're checking this. You're checking that. You're texting. You're calling. You're doing 10 things at once. So you are a very successful individual.
Thank you.
If you can go back to 18-year-old Gia, you know, or right at the beginning, you know, right at that the transfer from, you know, childhood to adulthood, what would you tell yourself?
I tell myself it's going to be okay.
Okay.
It's going to be okay. Whatever direction I decide to go in, it's going to be okay. Because you are resilient, you are strong, you will make mistakes.
Absolutely.
You will have your heart broken.
Except for me, though, I'm perfect.
You are. You are. You are perfect. Right, Jen? He's perfect.
She knows more than anybody else.
Yes, it is perfect. But you will be okay. You know, believe in yourself. That's the most important thing is believe in yourself. And always remember the regrets you have are the risks you don't take.
Okay.
Yep. So, you know, like I said, I can't change the past. And I don't think I really would. I mean, you know, I think about it often. Where would I be? You know, but again, this road was chosen and I chose this road. So I know that because choosing the direction that I've taken my life in, I can still control it. And that's what I live by. But I would tell my 18-year-old self, don't be afraid. Okay.
Yes.
Do not be afraid.
I like that.
Yeah. And just know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You know, I mean, I've had a lot of mishaps in my life where I tell myself, I'm like a cat. You know how cats have 9 lives?
Yeah.
Okay, I probably used at least 6 of them, so I got to be careful because
trying to run out.
Yeah, time's running out, and I've done some crazy things. Okay, thank God that there wasn't a video or YouTube, or I wouldn't be talking to you today.
I get you.
Seriously, I've done some crazy stuff. I mean, we don't have enough time, and well, we'd have to start bringing out the liquor.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, you would have thought I was in the military. Okay. Yes. Yes. And granted, I've dated a lot of military men. I have my partners in the military, whatnot. I mean, I'm telling you, but yeah, I thank God for no video, okay, or anything. There's nothing you can come back with me on that, okay? But I would say, yeah, everything's going to be okay. You know, it wasn't easy. Don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, I was the person that lost everything. I mean, I built my own house. You know, as a single mom, I had, you know, that was in itself another child. Lost everything, slept in the car with my kid, trying to figure out what we were going to do, how we were going to maneuver. I was too prideful to ask family for help. I refused.
So how'd you get out of that? That is an awesome testimony.
It was, I got into the mess because the crash of the
08?
market in 08. And I was living the good life. I mean, I was living the good life. You know, I was the big zeros in the paycheck. You know, traveling to Vegas every quarter.
That's a big drop.
Yeah, it was.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah, it was very devastating. A little bit of depression got to me when I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. But you know, I mean, I'd go to Vegas. I won big. I won $40,000 once at a table of roulette, which is really the game of chance.
Yeah.
Okay, one night at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and you know, so I've always been lucky in that aspect of it.
I need to go to Vegas with you.
Heck yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a risk taker. You know,
That is the definition of entrepreneur.
yeah,
Risk
just
taker.
I'm a risk taker. You know, and you know, it got to the point where I knew that things were turning on the downside when every time I would get a notification that one of my colleagues um, had lost their job. And then all of a sudden it got to the point where I, I couldn't hold I couldn't hold it together, the business, because at that time I had my own business.
So you were a broker.
I was a broker.
Okay.
I was a broker, and I tried to keep all my employees, you know, and it just got to the point where I couldn't. And I was starting to pay it out of my own pocket to help them. But it was so difficult during that time because a lot of the resources we had weren't available. So then I decided, okay, I'll try something new. Well, that didn't pan out. And I said, let me try something again. That didn't pan out. And pride's actually, pride got in the way, where had I been smarter about certain financial situations, I probably could have coasted, but I'm a risk taker and I bet on the wrong chip. And
That's why it's a risk.
but you know what? I said, you know what? There we were in the car. Luckily, he was young. He knew, but not necessarily understood what was going on. And I just said, you know what? I've got enough money to try to turn it around. I said, let's save. Slept in the car. And, um, you know, I just said, okay, I got to turn this around. I got to do something totally different. And I knew that I had to clear my mind because I wouldn't be able to help the people that I needed to help because I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I could sell.
Yeah.
You know? And so I said, let me get into something different. So I went into sales, different types of sales. And as I started picking up again, I just said, okay, you know what? No shame. I've never been embarrassed about that because I said it was part of my journey. It was a road that I had to take so that I could appreciate everything I had. Because at the time I didn't appreciate it. I mean, I drove the Jaguars. I had an XK convertible Jag.
Nice.
You know, it was $100 and something vehicle.
That's awesome.
You know, drove it around like nobody, Tiffany's, Rolex, you name it, thinking, hey, you know, I was probably like the Bill Gates of mortgage
Mortgage
lending and what.
lending.
But I wasn't.
Up there with Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, right? But I wasn't. You know, my head got bigger. Not that I was ever rude to anybody or cocky or anything. It's just I didn't value money,
Mm-hmm.
and I was my own worst enemy because I would telling my clients, "You need to value money," and I wasn't taking my own advice.
So you were Jordan Belfort.
Yes. Yeah,
Hey.
living the high life. Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Go to Vegas,
Oh,
go
that
to
is
California.
fun, yeah.
You know, big deal. You know,
Buying yachts, having a good life.
hey, you know, buying the houses, buying the cars, buying the clothes. I mean, I had an event once where they told me at the last minute, and I was working, and I didn't have a chance to go home, so I stepped in and went into a very expensive store, and I told the girl, I need a wardrobe from head to toe. I need shoes, undergarment, everything.
All the good stuff.
I walked out with a whole new wardrobe. They put my clothes in a bag. They said, here you go. And it was so funny because I was walking, ma'am, you have a price tag. Yeah, I want to hear thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Because it was an evening event, cocktail. I needed a cocktail dress. Back then I was thinner. Okay, much thinner. And high heels, purse, everything. And I told them, hey, call somebody to do my makeup and my hair. So they did. And I walked out of there like $1,000,000.
Nice.
You know, a couple of grand later, I was.
It's a good life.
That's the kind of life that was led. But I also
I don't know if
noticed
it's a good life, but it's a fun life.
it was good.
It was a good life.
It was a good
It's not
life.
like a good life to me.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. There were times where not so much because there were sacrifices that I had to make.
Okay.
And the sacrifices were time away from my son.
Time.
You know, I mean, I had a nanny. The nanny did pretty much everything that I didn't have time for him. So there were sacrifices.
How old is your son now?
My son well, he's 29, he'll be 30.
Nice.
Yes, yes. And, I mean, there were times where I couldn't be there for him, and I would always make a point to be at all his events, though.
That's good. That's really good.
That I did. But like on
That
the
means a
daily
lot.
basis where he would come home, the nanny would have his food ready. If I would be working late, sometimes I worked till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning in the office. And but she would wait there till I got home and okay, and then start up again. I'd leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I worked hard and I played hard.
That's a tough dance, though.
Yeah, it
That's a
was.
really tough dance.
Yeah, I did that for 8 years.
Because you're going to give him the life that he needs,
Yeah,
but then they do want you there, but at the same time, you got to produce. You know what I mean?
exactly. So it was a really difficult
There is no
time.
perfect solution.
There really wasn't, but it was a good life, but it was a difficult life, if that makes sense.
That does.
And the one thing that gives me such great pleasure is that prior to me losing everything was that my dad had passed away overseas. He was a contractor in Iraq, and he always saw me very successful.
Nice.
So I was so thankful because I was a daddy's girl and I was the favorite. Okay.
Nice.
I'm putting it on tape. I was the favorite. Okay. Out of 5 kids.
Now you know.
I was, and they know it. I was the favorite.
So now you admit it.
Yeah, I'm admitting it now.
There we go.
Yeah,
There
I'm
we
admitting
go.
now. Yeah, I wasn't always, but they knew.
They
Okay.
do. They do.
But at least while he was alive, he saw me very successful. And he said, I don't have to worry about you.
Awesome.
And so even though he passed away overseas suddenly, unexpectedly.
Was it combat related?
It was, well, you know what, nowadays, back then you didn't think so, but I firmly believe it might have been because they said that he ended up having a blockage, which was really strange because 6 months before he had a physical and he was fine. But apparently he had an aneurysm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he passed away. And so, it took some time to have him, brought back to us. But it gives me such happiness knowing that he didn't have to see the struggles that I had to go through. To me, that was the best, that he saw that I was living the good life.
Right. So as far as he knows, it just kept going up.
Right,
and up.
right. Now, granted, he's up there, and I know he saw the trials and tribulations, so he guided me during my hardest times.
Yes.
He was my angel, and so I tell people all the time. I said, you think you're alone, you just have to listen. You have to hear them. Your angels are there. You just have to listen and open your heart to know that they're going to guide you. That's why even during the hard times, I knew I could get through this. I knew it. I didn't know how. And like I said, as crazy as I was, I knew there was a way. And that's why I think a lot of veterans, that their spouses, we're going to get through this, okay, as a team effort. We don't know exactly how, but we're going to get through it. And for me, that was one of my saving graces, is that I knew I was going to get through it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's really my story. Is I've lived a really great life. Like I said, for the most part, I wasn't a billionaire, but I lived a really good life.
Nice.
And I still continue to think that I have a really good life.
Yeah.
Well,
I've seen you work, so I don't doubt it a minute. I don't doubt it a minute.
Well, again, my clients, my friends are very important to me. So I'm learning that, you need to make time for them, and
Absolutely.
but I think now I have a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more savviness. So I don't take as many risks as I used to, careless risks sometimes. So I'm a little bit more strategic about the risks that I take.
Nice.
Yeah. So I guess that comes with maturity.
Yeah.
I finally grew up.
But risks are important, and I know a lot of people that are younger and that refuse to take risks.
Yeah.
So risks are huge. I was watching Jeff Bezos talk one time, and he said that life is like baseball but better. Whenever they go to the pitcher's mound, or not the pitcher's mound, but the plate. In baseball you only get 3 chances, so they're very cautious about swinging away. In real life, you got an infinite number of hits.
Yeah.
All you need is one.
That's it.
All you need is one. But just
go.
keep swinging. Keep swinging.
That's why I tell people all the time. I said, it just, they always say you have to be at the right place at the right time. Yes, that is true. but you can strategically put yourself at the right place so it can be the right time.
Yeah, and you just got to give yourself more opportunities because
Yeah.
if you only do it one time, more than likely you're gonna hit nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Statistically speaking, there's just nothing to hit. But you send enough balls out there, eventually someone's gonna do something.
Well, it's the rule of numbers. That's like in sales. It's the rule of numbers. You may have to call 50 people and maybe you only get 2 yeses.
You have to call 200 people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just look at it as, you know what? When the time happens, it'll work. And if it doesn't, it's because it wasn't the right time. Like, okay. So yeah, but I've lived a really good life. And like I said, I have a loving family. We're just like every other dysfunctional family in the world. Okay. We have our ups and downs. But, again, what brings us together is our love for our country, our love for our community, love for one other, for one of each other. And, we're hard workers. And I kind of think that we're kind of like the American dream, you know?
I like it.
We can support each other. Others support more than the others as far as emotionally and financially.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're always there to try to better each other.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's what I hope that people get with regard to what we do here is we're here to guide you, almost mentor you per se, but to get you on that right path so that you too can say, hey, you know what? I have a good life.
So a quick question.
Yes.
I asked this to Matt as well, but if you have a individual that's watching and he doesn't know anything, but he wants to buy eventually, what would you recommend that person do?
Call me. Call me. Call me. Let's have a chat. Let's have a cup of coffee or a pop, and let's just talk. I want to see your vision.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what is it that you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What's the time frame we're looking at? That's really important because are we looking at 6 months? Are we looking at a year, 2 years? Let me understand where you are. Okay. Is this the right time? Sometimes it's not. Okay. I don't like saying no. I tell people if I have to say not right now, I will say yes later. Mm-hmm. So let me get to the yes. And so I tell people, call me. Let's talk. Let's see your.
No matter the situation.
No matter the situation.
Because I know I talk to people and they're always like, well, I want to get this paid off and I want to get this and I want to get that. And they'll have, a litany or a laundry list.
Right. And they may have to wait. Mm-hmm. But having the conversation and already understanding and realizing that it is a process. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a process. But what kind of process will be up to them. Okay. I'm going to give you the tools to succeed. I'm going to help you and guide you, hold your hand, okay? Because it is a lot of hold handing, okay? And I'm going to show you to get to the end result that you want, okay? But the first thing I need to do is I need to know who you are so that I can better understand how I can structure things for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that simple thing is call me. Let's chat.
What's your phone number? Who do they call?
Okay. So you can call me at 210-427-7529. And you can call me or text me. And that way we can just chat. If you'd like to meet and go have some coffee, let's do so. If you just want to talk and, and just really find out who I am, because I really firmly believe that if you get to meet me and talk to me, you're going to realize that I'm here for you. I'm here to make things happen. And I want you to succeed. But I need to know your story, okay, so that we can move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I said, we all have a story. I want to get you to where, I don't want to say the happy ever after, but I want to get you to the American dream, which is home ownership. And how do I get there? Well, I need to know who you are so I can better help you and your family.
Perfect.
And even the surviving spouses, okay? Even those that are going through divorce, mm-hmm. There are certain techniques and things that I need to share with you that, if I have to say not right now, but maybe in a couple of months, at least let me give you some hope mm-hmm. that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Bob Marley.
That's it.
every little thing is gonna be all right.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
You have to believe that. Otherwise, what's our purpose?
Absolutely.
So that to me is really where I'm at. You know, I just again so thankful for having this conversation with you and you getting to know who I am.
I appreciate the
And
conversation.
yeah, and all the journeys that I've been through, but understanding that, you know, I'm just one part of the puzzle, you know, and together we can finish the puzzle by helping our community out there and our service members and their families, because there's such a great need.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this meeting. Thank you for
Hey, it was
everything.
a pleasure. Thank
Nice,
you
yes.
again. And, you know, I'm always here for everybody. Again, may not have the answers you may want to hear, but I'm going to be very upfront with you and honest with you. And, you know, let's do it together.
Perfect. Like, share, subscribe, comment, ask what you want to see next. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
You have a
you.
great day and God bless.
God bless.
Okay.